Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are thrilled to see you here this fine day, this fine Friday morning. Thank you for being here. We're going to wait just a moment as we are logging everybody into the workshop today. If we could please encourage you to put your camera on. If you're in a space where you're able to do that, it would be wonderful to see you today. If you're not, we totally understand. If you could also please mute, we'd appreciate it. We will absolutely have some opportunity for Q&A towards the end of our presentation today, but we are thrilled to be here and thrilled to be together. I'm going to go ahead and get the slide deck started. Actually, before I do that, let me share it with everybody into the chat. Look, actually, I have waiting room. Let me get everybody. I'm going to put the slide deck into the chat right now if you would like a copy for yourself. And then also I'm going to go ahead and for those who are interested in having a Teach for the Bay certificate, I'm going to put that in the chat right now too. If you need any support with that, let us know. But we are thrilled that you are here today and joining us. Let me go ahead and get our slideshow started. We have a lot of good stuff to do today, a lot to cover. So, oops. Sorry about that. Okay, wait, actually, you're seeing the whole thing like that. I apologize, everybody. I'm trying to get the tech going here. Kate, do you mind helping with the chat, with the participants entering, if you don't mind while I'm working on this? I'm sorry, everybody. I'm attempting to get my screen going, and for some reason it's only covering the entire screen as opposed to allowing me a chance to see everybody a little bit. So sorry for this. Thank you for your patience while I'm getting this going. This is just the reality of life sometimes, where this technology, there's a lot going on with our tech, and so we really appreciate everybody's patience as we are getting the slide deck up. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We are thrilled to be here today. This is a very exciting time for us because we're having a chance to have a conversation with students at Teach for the Bay on a topic that we have not had a chance to present on yet with students. And this is specifically looking at our PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. And today we're going to be providing an information session to just give you just a little bit of information about where things are at right now. I want to give a special thanks, first of all, to our friends at Learning Policy Institute, our friends and colleagues. They had some great slides that we actually, and some great data points that we actually wanted to include in this presentation. And so we're grateful to Hannah and Kathy and Linda Darling-Hammond and all the wonderful people at Learning Policy Institute who are inclusive and share with us their slides and their resources. We appreciate it. Before we get into introductions, I just want to remind everybody what we're here today to do. This is an information session where we're going to be looking at this new credential, the PK-3 Early Childhood Education Specialist Credential, and we're going to be looking at some trends when it comes to TK and TK teachers and what we're going to need in the state of California. So just so everybody knows, this is the session you're at right now, and we are thrilled that you are here today. I'd like to do quick introductions for myself and my colleagues. Kate William-Browns is here from Skyline College, and Kate has been a leader in the early childhood education space for many, many, many years. She also serves as an early childhood education commissioner at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, where she facilitates or kind of connects the Commission on Teacher Credentialing with early childhood education in the community college system. We're also
Renee. Hey, Renee. This is so Kate-like to say, hey, hi, everyone that I know and anyone that I don't know. And just to clarify, I'm actually the California Community College Commissioner. But yes, I definitely am an early childhood education advocate.
Love it. Sorry that I just went out of the Zoom there for a second. And we are so excited that Phyllis is here also with us. And Phyllis Jacobson is a leader from the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. And so we are thrilled that all of us are here today to have an opportunity to talk with you about this new credential. Now, I want to gonna stop share for just a moment here because we want everybody to take a moment now to do a little poll to let us know like who you are and where you're coming from. I also should say my name is Renee Marshall. I forgot to introduce myself. I apologize, everybody, but I'm thrilled to be here today. And so we're going to start out by actually going to, I put it in the chat, there is a program called Mentimeter that we are going to go to right now, and we're asking everybody to find out who is in the room today. And so if you could please, oh no, if you could please, let me open up the voting again. If you could please go to mentimeter.com and type in the number 1751119. You should be able to give us like up to 3 descriptors of who you are. And so we're curious who's in the room today. We're curious if there's students, if there's faculty, if we've got future preschool teachers, future TK teachers. We want to see how people identify. So if you could take a minute to do this, that would be great. And I will go ahead and stop share for a minute so that way we can go back to our other slides, and then we can try to return to this to see the answers of who is in the room today. So thank you so much. Also, if for any reason you're having issues with the Mentimeter, please just put your identification in the chat. It'd also be great to meet you in the chat in terms of knowing you know, your name and what school you're coming from. Actually, the Mentimeter is starting to work, so I'm going to bring it back so everybody can see this. So far, we have a mother, a preschool teacher, community college faculty. Manuela's here. We've got a current ECE student at City College of San Francisco. Who else is in the room? It's so fun when this comes alive. So if everybody could just do this really quickly and identify who you are on menti.com, it's really fun. Okay,
Renee,
here we
could
go.
I take a moment to welcome you from Teach for the Bay?
Oh, absolutely, Tracy. I didn't see that you're joining us. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, thank you. No, I got here a couple minutes late. So I just want to thank you so much for giving this presentation. I'm really excited to learn about the current status of the P-3 credential and everything that's happening. I really appreciate all the advocacy that you've been doing. So everyone here should know about the advocacy that all 3 presenters have been involved with for the P-3 credential, because it's pretty controversial. And as Teach for the Bay, we're really excited. This was one of our like sort of primary goal, one of the workshops we really wanted to have. So thank you so much for spending the time. Thank you for all you do in the field. And we're just really happy to have you. And folks, just so you know, you can still register for workshops in the plenary at 12. So we'd love to see you, and we're happy to see you here at Teach for the Bay.
Thank you, Tracy. Tracy, hey, hi.
Thank you for
another colleague.
Yes.
I love it. And as everybody can see, as this poll is coming alive, we are different and we are similar. If you look in this group right now, we have ECE majors, we've got students, we've got community college students, we've got staff, we've got professional growth advisors, we've got leaders, we've got mentors from Rio Hondo College, aspiring teachers. Oh, I love that. I said aspiring, I meant inspiring teachers, students, coaching managers. Renee Marshall, I'm here. Future mom, current mothers, full-time mothers, Kate Brown. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. And I see in the chat too, we've got first time on Zoom. I love it. Welcome, welcome. We have educators from the OUSD. We have some more college students from Community College of San Francisco. This is fantastic, everybody. We wanted to get a sense of who was here before we jumped into our presentation today. And just as we anticipated, it's a beautiful, diverse group. So let me go ahead and get back to our slides now, and then I will get ready to hand it over in just a moment. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Kate, who's going to talk a little bit about universal PK.
Which the first thing I think we should probably talk about is, so what is it anyway? Our field is so good at putting together these little abbreviations and then assuming that everyone knows what they mean. And of course, you know what ASSUME stands for. So what is universal preschool? Universal in this context will mean that by 2025-26, regardless of background, race, zip code, immigration status, or income level, every child in California will have access to a quality learning experience the year before kindergarten. We call that a free and public education. Universal pre-kindergarten, therefore, will bring together programs across early learning and also in the K-12 system. And it will rely heavily on what we call Universal Transition Kindergarten, UTK, and also California State Preschool. The California State Preschool program is a California-funded program for income-eligible families, as well as Head Start, which is a federally funded program for income-eligible families. And also, of course, community-based organizations, and private preschool. So that's very comprehensive, but it means that anyone in those programs will have access to a quality learning experience the year before kindergarten, which gets us into the early childhood education world. Next slide, please. So interestingly enough, just like we often say in developmentally appropriate practices in early childhood education, teaching and learning, we call it play-centric. This slide is about teacher-centric. Where is the center here of universal preschool, pre-kindergarten preparation in terms of the teachers? And as you can see in this slide, in order to get prepared to teach early childhood education, UPK, in California public schools, we're looking at, again, the early childhood pre-kindergarten teacher at the state preschools. So those teachers that's the state funded program. It requires a teacher level permit that's issued by the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. And I'm sure many of you know, but I feel that it's important to say that the California Child Development Teaching Permit has served as the professional piece of the credential system. And for many of you know, there are currently 6 levels in the permit. And one of those levels, the mid-level, is the teacher level. You could also be teaching pre-kindergarten in a private school, and a teacher in a center-based program that's a private school usually requires 12 units in ECE to teach and supervise children. That seems to vary from private school to private school. I can no longer see the slides, Renee, but I have.
Sorry, I had a
them in
tech
front of
glitch.
me.
I'm fixing it right now. Sorry about that. They'll be up in just a second.
That's okay. That's fine. But the private school sector will always exist, and that what private schools require varies from private school to private school. That's a general requirement in most counties if you're going to have a licensed program. Then if we move over to the right side of the other side of the slide, the public school system then will have a PK-3 early childhood education specialist instruction credential, which means that a teacher in a public school program that holds this credential, when we get it approved, can teach grades pre-kindergarten through grade 3. In the state of California, pre-kindergarten will be the year before kindergarten. That doesn't mean there aren't bigger plans, but that's the way it will be as we're looking at it. Or currently, those people who have what's called a multiple subject credential, which if you're outside of the world of credentialing, you might call that the elementary school credential. A teacher in a public program that holds a multiple subject credential now can teach PK through 3rd grade. And with current legislation, in order to do that, we'll need to also have some early childhood education background. I saw you in the chat, Tracy, you're right. See how it gets a little complex, but we're trying to make it understandable. That's a lot. That, of course, there's early childhood education is very diverse, and will also always have a diversity of programs that address the needs of children and their families.
Kate, I do want to say though, I have some of my colleagues right now who absolutely want to make sure that they remain eligible to teach TK, who have multiple subject credentials and are getting those 24 units, because they don't want to lose that option of being with 4-year-olds, because that's where their heart is. And so I have a newer teacher right now that I'm working with who absolutely is working on it, and she's in 6th grade right now, and she loves 6th grade for this minute. And she's so excited to get those 24 units, so that door to TK really opens up in a very different way for her.
For people who already hold the multiple subject credential. And there may be people who don't hold that credential and may not even, in fact, be particularly interested in teaching the older grades, as you say, clear up to 8th grade in the state of California. But also multiple subject teachers can teach in a self-contained classroom clear up to 12th grade right now. That's why it's called multiple subject rather than just elementary. But then, I'm sorry, I'm getting into the weeds, Renee. Put me on the next slide. We will talk about that, how this credential is new and innovative and bridges in a little bit. But the next slide here is, so what's the expansion of TK anyway? So it's an integral program in that mixed delivery system. Remember that previous slide, and we talked about state preschool, we talked about Head Start, we talked about private programs, which could also include, this mixed delivery could also include private preschools that have classes for 4-year-olds, and even family childcare, of course, that also often serves 4-year-olds. But this mixed delivery program system that we've had for now the state of California, this is going to have to be the program that serves any 4-year-old child in the public school system that wants to enroll, starting in, this year, with the complete expansion, hopefully being achieved by 25-26. So you're right. I'm seeing Jordan in the chat. In the chat, some elementary schools have already started transitional kindergarten options when the age group for transitional kindergarten was quite narrow, and it's beginning to expand so that it becomes all 4-year-olds in the next couple of years. So that's what that mixed delivery system is indicating, but also that every elementary school will have a free and public education for 4-year-olds. Okay. So, well, who will teach the universal preschool classrooms? And let's start to think about talking about the teacher in TK. I know that we've been talking about the children in TK, but remember that in elementary schools, there is always a teacher. And only some classrooms in elementary school have a paraeducator or an assistant teacher. But let's talk about the teacher in UPK. What that's going to mean is that there will be one lead and one assistant teacher in all the UPK classrooms. Why? Because the legislature came to recognize that class size and adult-child ratio matter, particularly for younger children. So the class size this year is sort of set as up to 22. And so that for 22-23, that's our year now, the class size can be up to 22. But starting in 23-24, the class size will then be up to 18. That means that the adult-child ratio in universal pre-kindergarten classrooms, public classrooms in California, will have an adult-child ratio of 1 to 10 or less. And with that, who can teach TK? I think I need to pass the baton over to my colleague at the CTC, Phyllis Jacobson, to tell us a little bit more about this.
Thank you, Kate, and good morning, everyone. I haven't had the chance to formally say hello to all of you. I'm delighted to see you as well, and I bring you greetings on behalf of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. We are, in fact, here to help. So, who can teach in TK right now? Well, those who hold a multiple subject credential, those who might hold a multiple subject intern credential. There is now a brand new 1-year emergency specialist teaching permit in early childhood education. That is something that the employer has to ask for on behalf of a candidate. There are also other types of short-term permits and waivers that an employer can ask for. And anyone who will earn the new PK-3 ECE specialist instruction credential. Now, I know that's a mouthful. There's a reason for that. The credential has to have a legal name, and this is the legal name of the credential, but we will shorthand how we talk about it. But this is its official name. the PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. And boy, am I tired of typing all of that in agenda items. But so there's quite a variety of people who are eligible to teach in TK. And as Kate mentioned, those who hold a multiple subject credential, if their district wants to get funding for that TK classroom, that teacher is subject to getting an additional or meeting the requirement for an additional 24 units in early childhood education. This was something that the legislature decided upon precisely because of the question that was raised in the chat about whether multiple subject teachers have sufficient preparation to be teaching those very earliest learners. And so although the multiple subject credential preparation does include that area, it doesn't do so with the emphasis that might be desirable if you're teaching in that very young child space. And so the legislature decided that in order for districts to qualify for funding, their multiple subject teachers needed to have that additional preparation. So people often confuse that with a credentialing requirement. It's not a credentialing requirement. It is a funding requirement, and it's actually administered by the Department of Education and not the Commission. I know it's a little weedy, but just in case you're looking for information about that, you should be looking on the Department of Education UTK webpage, and that's where you'll find it. Okay, next slide, please. So you're interested in getting a PK-3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. That's great. That's fabulous. If you are someone who is passionate about working with those early learners, this is for you. You will be authorized to teach all of the subjects in a self-contained classroom setting. You'll be also authorized to team teach or regroup students across classrooms in grades preschool through 3. Can your district assign you to teach grade 5? Not likely. Your credential authorizes you to teach up through grade 3. If you want to add a multiple subject credential, if you're interested in being able to teach upper grades, you will be able to do that as well. That will be a separate process. Now, people have also asked, well, we know that there's something about teaching English learners. How am I going to get that preparation? How am I going to be qualified to work effectively with those who are learning English as a second, third, fourth, maybe fifth language? You never know. Well, this credential preparation will provide you with everything that you need to get the English learner authorization that's required by law. And right now it's required if you get a multiple subject, a single subject, or an education specialist. That's the special education credential. And once this credential is fully established, that will also be required for this credential as well. But not to worry, your preparation program takes care of that for you. Next slide, please.
Phyllis, I don't know if you want to take the question in the chat,
sorry.
or if you'd like to wait till later. Teresa's
The question that Teresa's, if you'll, I
Wait.
really appreciate that question. You're anticipating my next slide. Thank you. Ta-da, here you go. So here's an update on where that credential stands and what kinds of bridges we've built to help people get this credential. We were very, very, very deliberate in how we thought about this credential and providing an opportunity or an on-ramp, a bridge, whatever you like to call it, so that people who are coming from the permit side of the world, those of you who have been working in early childhood on a permit and would like to transition to a credential that would authorize teaching in PK through 3, we have built the structure of this credential so that your prior preparation and experience is valued, respected, honored, and will get you some credit towards meeting the requirements for the PK-3 ECE Specialist Credential. In addition, those of you who might have some other type of credential, multiple subject in particular, who want to earn the 24 units in a very meaningful way, the same units that people are going to be required to have for this credential will also qualify you, if you're a multiple subject credential holder, to earn that or to meet that 24 unit requirement for apportionment purposes. So the 24 units that people would typically have already, if you're coming from the permit side, double count for you. You know, we deliberately have built a number of structures into the preparation for this credential so as to make it easier for people to cross if you want to do that. Next slide. So we expect that this credential is going to be established in law by early 2023. And the reason for that is it's not enough that the commission approves what the requirements for the credential are and so on. All of that has to pass an examination and approval by the state's Office of Administrative Law. We are creating new law here. We are creating a new credential. We're actually repurposing an existing one that nobody has gotten in quite some time, but that's a little weedy for details. So let's just say we're establishing a new credential, and that takes state approval. And to get through the regulatory process is somewhat complex. And we hope to get that expedited so that the credential can be established and available to candidates beginning in early 2023. We're hoping for January. So at the next commission meeting, October 13, 14, I will be presenting an agenda item that outlines the proposed performance expectations we have for teachers that are job role based, that indicate what competencies, what knowledge, what skill, what ability, what dispositions, whatever terms you prefer, do we expect you to have to successfully do the job role of a PK-3 teacher. And we also have standards for the programs that are going to prepare you. We expect programs that are going to offer preparation for those of you who are interested in this credential to be of high quality. And we have standards that require these programs to meet certain expectations for how they help you learn, how they help you practice, how they help you get feedback on your performance, how they help you grow as a professional. All of this is critically important to us if we're going to approve a program that will help you earn this credential. So these two components will be presented to the commission for approval at the October 13-14 meeting. You are welcome to tune in. The meetings are broadcast live on the commission's website. If you don't have video, you can call in a telephone number and you can listen. If you want to make a comment, there's explanation on the website for how you can submit a comment, either in writing or you could speak at the meeting, not necessarily in person. You don't have to be there to speak, or you could do both. And so we encourage you to get involved and hear how the commission talks about this credential and what the enthusiasm level is for doing this. At the prior meeting in August, the commission approved the requirements for this credential and what the credential will authorize you to do. So we've already got half of that work done. The next part comes in October, and then we're simply waiting for approval from the Office of Administrative Law. So in the meanwhile, we're going to be working starting in later October and through the winter. We're going to be working to provide some technical assistance to anyone in the audience here today who might be from a teacher preparation institution who would like to offer preparation for this credential. You will already know what the proposed standards are. We will explain the process for applying if you've already got a teacher preparation program that's approved, or if you're going to be a brand new program. And all of that will be coming with technical assistance. Somebody has asked for the website to join the commission meeting. Renee or Kate, if you could just pop the commission's website in there. Absolutely. It'll be on the landing page. It'll be on the main page. It'll say commission meeting, and then there'll be a link to click, and then it'll say watch live on that link. If you miss the meeting for any reason, but you want to see what happened, following the meetings, all of the video from the individual agenda items are posted under that agenda item. So you can always go back after the fact and watch and listen to what happened. So then we hope that actual real functioning preparation programs would become available by fall of 2023 for the folks that we call quote early adopters, those folks who are really, we're ready to go. We're just waiting for the, for the green flag, I guess, to drop, and we are ready to move on this. And so we love that. We encourage that. We're happy to work with you. We're just a little bit ahead of time right at the minute, but we're getting there. So next slide, please. Aha, the $24,000 question, or now what's 24 million, I guess. What are the requirements for this credential? What do I have to do if I want to get this credential? Well, the first requirement is that you have a bachelor's degree, but it does not have to be in early childhood or child development or necessarily a related field. But it does have to be a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution of higher education. Doesn't have to be from California. If you're moving here from out of state, it could be a regionally accredited institution in any state of the union. But you have to have a bachelor's degree. Of course, we would prefer it to be in early childhood or child development, but it is not required. The second requirement for this credential is that you have to complete a commission-approved preparation program for this credential. People sometimes ask, well, can I just waive the credential program? Do I really need to do that? And the answer is yes, you really need to do that. It's in state statute. The commission doesn't have the authority to say, oh no, in your case, you don't need to do a preparation program. It is a matter of state law. So yes, will need to do a preparation program. Now, I will say that within preparation programs, there are a variety of flavors. It's kind of like Baskin Robbins in a way. There's all kinds of flavors that you can choose, and we'll look at some of those program models in a minute. And then all credentials, as a matter of state law, require the following things to be completed, and this will be true for the PK-3 specialist credential. You do need to pass a teaching performance assessment that's approved by the commission. This is not as scary as it sounds. You will be helped to practice the tasks within the performance assessment. They simply ask you to do the same kinds of things that a teacher would do. They'll ask you to identify children who need special assistance for one reason or another. They're an English learner, or they're suffering trauma or whatever. They will ask you to think about the children in your class and plan a lesson for them. It could be child-led activities, it could be teacher-led activities, could be a combination, could be whatever that's appropriate to help your students or children move forward. It's not scary. I know it sounds scary, but it's not. And you will be helped every step of the way to practice. You will need to complete the subject matter requirement for the credential. And the subject matter requirement simply means we want you to know the content that you're going to be teaching to students or helping students to learn. So the 24 units that, if you're coming from the child development permit world, and you have had 24 units to get your teacher permit, you've met the subject matter requirement. See, not scary at all. So that's basically 24 units. If you've done the CAP 8 coursework, for example, at a community college, that counts. If you've done a similar program, you're at a 4-year institution and you've done similar coursework, that counts. And then last but not least, you will need to pass the Reading Instruction Competency Assessment, or RICA, examination. Just to let you know that the RICA examination, which is presently basically paper and pencil in orientation, will be changing in 2025, I believe, to be a performance-based assessment. And those are the requirements. You might notice, those of you who pay attention to credentialing, that there's some biggie missing here. And that's the basic skills requirement, or the CBEST requirement, as people call it, although there are now like 8 or 9 or 10 options for meeting this requirement. It's not here. We have said that the bachelor's degree is going to suffice as evidence of basic skills for this credential. And so we are not putting it as a separate requirement. So you're already +1 when you start. Okay, next question. Oh, it's not slide, I don't mean question. So, you know, I wanted to have this opportunity to talk to those of you who are credential candidates or potential credential candidates, or have been in the child development permit setting. I really wanted to talk with you a little bit more personally about your future career in universal pre-K or beyond. You know, teaching is an amazing career opportunity. Most of us here with you are teachers, have been teachers, want to remain teachers. That's where our hearts and souls are. We love doing the job. But I want to tell you that if you start in a career with UPK, there are going to become a lot of incredible opportunities for personally growing and developing that will become available to you. All you need to do is recognize that here's an opportunity I can take advantage of and want to take advantage of that. You can take this career wherever you'd like to go. You can become a classroom teacher. You can become a mentor teacher or a coach. You can become an administrator. You can become somebody who works at the policy level, such as I do at the state level. There's all kinds of ways that your career can grow and develop over the trajectory of a lifetime. And this is all open to you. Even from the beginning, you'll notice that if you enter a teacher preparation program, the first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to have an advisor. You're going to have somebody who's responsible for making sure that you progress the way you need to through the program. There's even a standard for programs that say you have to monitor candidate progress and you have to intervene if a candidate is not making the appropriate progress and needs further assistance to work through that process. You will be mentored by at least one program supervisor who will come and watch your work in the classroom, not as an evaluator, but as a support, and by your classroom cooperating teacher. If you're in the kind of teacher preparation program that allows you to co-teach, such as a teacher residency, then that person will also be your mentor and your assistant. And it's all done to help you grow and develop, not to evaluate you and put you on the spot. Our whole orientation is helping people grow and develop, not the opposite. And then once you graduate, you earn your credential, you take your first job, you will automatically have to do a 2-year induction program. That induction program is entirely based on an individual development plan that you and your mentor will create for yourself. That's 2 years of supported one-on-one mentoring and coaching to help you get a firm start in the profession of teaching. I mean, it's an amazing opportunity that's provided to you. And then once you have gotten some experience under your belt and you feel you're ready to help start mentoring others, you can become a nationally board certified teacher. You can become a teacher mentor yourself. You could decide, well, you know, I really want to go into administration. And so you could start moving on that pathway. It's just a wonderful field. And I'm kind of envious for those of you just starting out again, because I think back on my own career and honestly, I would not have changed a thing. I love teaching. I hope you're here because you love teaching. So that's the end of my kind of little soapbox speech. Next slide.
I was thinking that Kate was taking
That's
over.
it. Well, Kate was taking the rest.
Okay.
You know, I didn't talk. I thought we had a slide here about program
let's,
model.
in fact, let's not go on to the next slide quite yet, but Phyllis, thank you for that. And I just wanted to say a few words before we go on to the sort of the next piece. I hope that what all of you who are in early childhood education, teacher preparation programs now, and for many of you that are here who might participate in being those professors and instructors and creators, can really hear from Phyllis. One of this last piece that she was talking about is what every current credential program has, requires, is supported, and offers. And that piece is what this bridge credential will build in order to offer that to those of us that have not been in the credentialing program. I've seen some questions in the chat that are really relevant and important to look at. And one of them is this issue of, well, what happens to, how about getting grandparented in from both sides? And as you can see, in the state of California, it is a legal requirement that everyone who teaches in a public school setting must have a public school credential. And that's why that piece about those of us who hold permits, whether it's teacher, master teacher, site supervisor, will need to get this new credential in order to have a credential to teach in the public school. At the same time, as you can see, this bridge credential has really been set up in order to not only organize what the teacher prep programs need to do to build this new credential program, but also to do it as a way so that, in a sense, people who are already teaching K-3 and people who are already teaching early education can get this bridge credential. And if the people who are already teaching K-3, they need to get early childhood. People who are already teaching young children, they need to get the primary or the elementary school piece of it. So that's the way that's trying to go together. And I think that the second thing I'd like to at least offer is this idea that, how can I say this? The idea that both the commission, that the California Department of Education is supporting this financially for programs that are going to do TK, is critical for that adult child class size and adult child ratio. And the commission is setting the appropriate standards so that the institutions of higher education, those of you that are on this, we'll call them the IHEs. There's another abbreviation. But the institutions of higher education will really have to work to build this bridge credential preparation program. And it will be something different than any other credential. So it may take a little while. I appreciate the slide that sort of helped you see the timeline. We've being on the Credential Commission it's been a several-year process to review the child development permit, and then to get the government, the legislature and the governor then said, let's do something that matters, and then figuring out what TK looks like, and then really coming together and saying, yes, you're right, we do need a unique credential, and what's that supposed to look like? All of those things take time, people, resources to get to. And I just want to say, on behalf of those of you that just can't wait to get this credential, as a person who has been in the community college system for over 20 years, we really want to be part of this credential preparation, which means we'll also need to establish bridges with our four-year institutions, because if the requirement is that you have at least a bachelor's degree, those two institutions will need to bridge and build programs that work, as well as the four-year that starts students at the freshman level. But also, the typical credential has always been given to a graduate school of education. And one of the things that people who are building this credential want to look at is, could there be ways that the institutions of higher education could build a pre-3 bridge credential that could sit primarily in the bachelor's degree programs? And I think that will be what some of the early adopters are trying to create. And part of that, as an FYI, is just for all of you to know that should that happen, that will take, again, time, people, resources, and efforts, and a little bit of time. You can't just snap a new credential together in a really short period of time. You got to do it right. So now let's go on to you, PK, and you.
Excellent. Kate, I also see some people asking for the PowerPoint. We've dropped it in the chat a couple times. Please know that we can email it out to everybody after also. So if you're not seeing it in your chat, don't worry, we'll make sure to email it out to you. But Phyllis did just drop it back in. So hopefully some of you are able to access, but if not, we can email it to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, great. So again, I won't overwhelm us with detail, but I just wanted you to take a look at this. If you notice in the corner, it says Learning Policy Institute. Thanks again to Hannah and Kathy, and also to Linda Darling Hammond, and Deborah Stipek, who built this Learning Policy Institute. But this gives you a sense of, here comes transitional kindergarten, and there's really going to be a demand for TK teachers. And if you look here, you'll see that there's a lot of different regional variation, just generally. The darker the color, the higher the identified need at this time. So the 5 largest counties alone account for over half of the total estimated increased demand by full implementation, which doesn't mean that the ones that are lighter have no demand. It's just that that first look at the state to see if this really was going to need some work was, oh, wow, there are counties that have almost no regular state preschool, Head Start. Privates don't achieve the, haven't been able to provide for the need. So when we start looking at all these 4-year-olds, it's a really big deal. So I want to hand it back over to Renee to kind of give another look, and then what, again, UP and UPK and U.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kate. Jacqueline, I see your comment in the chat right now, and it is pretty common right now for school districts and schools to have a TK that the students then can continue at the same school site. Ideally, that continuity of care, for everybody who's in early care, we know how important that is for children. The one thing that's really exciting about this is there's this small window of children that are eligible for that. And this is what I can't wait to show everybody. Look at how this window is changing. So right now, less than 200,000 children are eligible for free transitional kindergarten services. Fast forward 3 years, we have almost 500,000 children that will be eligible. So this is so important for everybody, because guess what? If you want to teach TK, there will be so many jobs and opportunities, everybody, that this is a great place for you to be preparing and getting yourself on that pathway, or if you're already in that pathway, really solidifying it. Because we're literally going to be looking in the next 2 years for somewhere between 11,000 to 14,000 TK teachers, one grade level. I think the commission gave out maybe it was around 16,000 credentials last year for a total of TK to 12th grade. So for 13 grades, we're now looking at one grade level and really needing 11,000 to 14,000 qualified teachers to help lead this charge. So for those of you who are thinking, do I want to go into TK? Yes, yes, yes. And I'm saying this for many reasons, because one of the biggest things, I was a kindergarten teacher. I loved teaching kindergarten. I loved it when I was a preschool teacher and got to teach 4-year-olds. But when I went into the K-12 system, I no longer had those beautiful 4-year-olds that I could teach. And so I loved being in kinder, but at the same time, this is really allowing those of us who specialize in early learning to really continue with those younger children. So just know by this graph right here, everybody, the positions are going to be available. And put yourself in a spot where you can have whatever type of career you want, whether that be that you're like my sister, who has been in the classroom. She's now on year 28, loves it, will never leave. I'm gonna be honest, she's with junior high kids. Wouldn't do it myself, but everybody has to know what age that they like and what grade and subject area and whatnot that they love. For me, I thought I was gonna be a teacher forever. And then I had all these different doors and opportunities open up. And so I had a chance to teach preschool, teach kindergarten, teach elementary school, trained as a principal, taught at the community college level. I had no idea that when I got a credential and a master's degree, suddenly that I was going to be able to be a college professor for 12 years of my career. So just know that the doors are opening right now, and there's lots of options. There's also lots of people who are here to talk to you about strategy and just how to make sure that you are getting yourself lined up for as many career opportunities and career advancements as you move forward. One of the things that's important to know, when we're able to advance in our careers, we're able to sometimes lift generations of our families up into another kind of opportunity zone. And so, yeah, this is about us, but this is also about every single person in your life who helped you to get to this minute, and what you can do to elevate your family, what you can do to elevate your community, and what you can do to elevate yourself and secure a really, really good career. This isn't a job. Somebody who I really respect, you saw I say a job stands for JOB, just over broke. That's not what this is. This is about a career. This is about being strategic to make sure that you get paid well. One of the things too that's so exciting to me is to know that we're looking now at the TK through 12 pay scale and what that's going to look like for our early childhood providers. For some people, they're going to double their salary when they decide to make this transition. So it could be substantial. This slide also is coming from our colleagues at Learning Policy Institute. And Linda Darling-Hammond is actually right there. She's in the pink shirt right in the middle. And Linda actually just won this incredibly prestigious award just this week for the work that she does in education. There's a $3.6 million investment that they're now putting towards her work because it's so valuable. So this is Linda with Governor Newsom, and just showcasing right now we have an investment like we have not seen, an historic investment. And so just know that there's going to be resources that go along with that investment. And with that, we want to make sure every single one of you looks at this slide, lives this slide, and like this is the first slide you open when we send you the slide deck, everybody. And here's why. This is all the financial resources. So teacher residency grant program, that's an opportunity where you can simultaneously be working on your credentialing while you're in the classroom. That's an opportunity for people. It's usually a little bit later on in your pathway. It's not like you're, in your first ECE class and you're eligible for residency. That's a bit later on, but it's a really, really good option. Another point that I want to bring up that is so essential. We need current classified staff to move into this pathway to become UPK teachers. So every single person who's on right now, who's a paraeducator, who's often said to themselves, gosh, I wish I had my own classroom. Now is the time. This is the time. And this California Classified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program is specifically geared to help those who are currently in our school system in classified positions turn into those who are leading the TK rollout in certificated positions. The last financial resource I also want to share here as well, and this is just the beginning, everybody. There's going to be more resources coming. So keep going to things like Teach for the Bay. Check out the Commission on Teacher Credentialing website. You might want to start looking at the California Department of Education website as well, which is probably just www.cde.ca.gov is my guess. If not,
I put a link in the chat, Renee.
Oh, excellent. Thanks.
Specifically to the TK information.
Excellent. And that Golden State Teacher Grant Program, I love to share this because that was me. When I look at this line right here, back in the day, I was part of a program called Apple. And what it was is if you were training to be a teacher and then you went and taught in certain specific schools and school districts that had more of a higher need population or specific designations of areas that you were teaching, then you would be eligible to get some of your grants taken back. And then you don't, and they pay them for you. And the thing with this that's important to know, everybody, if you get a position, ask whoever is interviewing you if the school site is eligible for the Golden State Teacher Grant Program, and you ask it within interviews. And I say that because one time I received an offer that was for a school that was not going to allow me to get my loans reimbursed. And within the interview, I just stopped for a minute. I said, hey, any chance Live Oak has an opening? Because they're a Title I school, and if I work there, I can get some of my loans taken back. And without dropping a beat, it was a matter of a few minutes. And they said, oh, Renee, we absolutely have a job offer for you at that school. It was a matter of asking. Be your best advocate, everybody. Learn about if you have to, I had to take loans. If you have to take loans, figure out ways where you won't have to pay them forever, and programs such as the Golden State Teacher Grant Program, it's a way to do it. That is for certain. So
Can
with
I add a little bit to what, can you go back for just a second, Renee?
Absolutely.
I'd like to encourage people to think about some of these programs because they are state funded. They offer support for you while you're essentially earning while learning. The Teacher Residency Grant Program is one that in order to be eligible, you already have to have your bachelor's degree. And you need to have met the subject matter requirement, which if you have 24 units for this credential, you would be eligible. And what you do during the residency program is you are co-teaching. You're not the teacher of record, but you are a co-teacher. You are given a stipend, which is around $25,000, something like that, as a stipend. And then you might also have the opportunity to serve as a support person, a second person in a classroom during other times. And there's some matching funds to that from the district as well. So that's one viable option while you earn while you learn. The classified school employee teacher credentialing program provides you $4,500 a year to complete your bachelor's degree and your teacher credentialing. That program does not end when you've got your bachelor's degree. It can help support you in your teacher preparation program as well. And by classified school employee, we mean everything from somebody you would typically call a paraprofessional or an aide to somebody who works in the cafeteria, drives a bus, cleans the school, any kind of job that is classified. You don't have to be specifically a teacher aide to qualify for this program. So it's a great opportunity to again, have your schooling paid for while you're still on your job. Some people worry about supporting themselves if they have to do student teaching. I know that's a very common concern. So two things that are not on here because they don't have direct state funding are the intern preparation programs. What an intern program does is if you have your bachelor's degree, intern, you have your bachelor's degree and you've met the subject matter requirement, the 24 units, you can become the teacher of record. You're given some pre-service preparation, you're put in the classroom as the teacher, and at the same time, you're taking your teacher preparation coursework. So you are earning a teacher's salary while you're still completing teacher preparation. That is a model of preparation that a lot of people find helpful. And then there is the undergraduate integrated program in which you come out after 4 years with your bachelor's degree and your teaching credential. So we just wanted to let you know there's fiscal hope there, as well as the Golden State Teacher Grant Program.
I appreciate that so much, Phyllis, because I was somebody who I didn't have money to go to college. And so the more resources that we can give, the better off people can be. I know we're coming close on time, so we're going to transition to Kate now, where she's going to go to some questions. In a moment, I'm going to pull this slide down so I can drop everything into the chat for everybody, okay? But just come and check out what the questions are, and then Kate's going to facilitate a little bit of a discussion with everyone.
Well, by the way, it's 9:57, so I'm not sure how much discussion this is, but what I've started seeing in the chat is some questions about where do I qualify, what am I, and hi Leticia. And so what I think is, I think these questions about how this might impact your professional career is a good question. At the same time, I think everybody's already thinking about this. I would like to say on behalf of the community college side of the house here, that as a developing early childhood teacher, you need to think about what you might need as support if that's where you are, because many of the programs that were just described are when you're on your way to your bachelor's program, but you may not be quite there yet. So a couple of things that have come up that I just like to mention is, remember, one of the things that was talked about was you don't need to take the basic skills test. That's because what the community colleges and the BA programs have tried to do is to articulate those general ed classes that you're taking at the community college that you need generally a B- or better to get, that then also will allow you that when you have your bachelor's degree, you've already proven you have those basic skills and don't need to take an extra exam. But the other piece about the community college system that I want everyone to think about is that that is quite an affordable, accessible way to get some of your foundational skills and a start. And some of our community colleges are actually also building an apprenticeship program in which you can work 20 hours a week paid in a program in early childhood education that gets you your experience as you're getting your associate degree. So I don't think we really have time for discussion, but we do have time to wrap it up and offer you exciting ways to become the teachers of tomorrow.
I love that, Kate. Thank you so much. We really thought we were going to have like 10 minutes for questions, so I'm sorry. I know that many of you want to head to your next session. If you have any questions that are related specifically to the permit and credential, we have the website for you, or the email for you to go to right there. Any ECE specific questions, we also included that email address as well. For more information, we suggest that you go to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing website, which is www.ctc.ca.gov. And with that, I want to also say thank you so much to the sponsors of Teach for the Bay. We are thrilled to be able to put this on and to have a chance to come together today. Greatly appreciate it. I know that some people have been asking for the certificate, and so I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. If anybody has any issues downloading that or whatnot, just shoot me an email. I put my email in the chat just a moment ago, and we'll make sure we get a certificate for you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. We hope you have a wonderful rest of Teach for the Bay. Crystal, thank you so much for keeping the chat alive, my friend. I see you there, and I'm going to tell Miss Linda that you sent her some love there, okay? Because that's what this community is about, all of us coming together, coming into these shared spaces, and trying to do what's best for children and family and for our careers. So thank you all, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you so much. And I'm going to stop our recording now, but if anybody has any last minute questions or whatnot that they want to ask, I'm able to stay on for a few minutes. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your Teach for the Bay.